we're gonna make pumpkin pie. I got the cheat way of the 9-inch ready-to-bake pie crusts. These are in the refrigerated section at the grocery store. You want to get this out and let it sit to room temperature for 15 to 20 minutes before you put it in the bottom of your pie pan ungreased. And we're also going to mix up our pumpkin mix, which will be 3 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, which is in here. We're going to use a cup of milk, 1 of the 15-ounce cans of pumpkin, and then you need your teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. So while you're mixing this up, get your oven preheating to 450, which we got it started. We're gonna put our pie crust in here because it has set, and we're gonna whip up the pudding mix for in the pumpkin pie. All right, so we got our 3 eggs, our cup of sugar, and all of our spices all stirred in. Now we're gonna add the pumpkin mix. Got our pumpkin all in here, and now we're gonna add our cup of milk. We're gonna mix this all in. Pumpkin pie is very liquidy. And then we got our pie crust over there ready to go. So we're just gonna pour this in the pie crust once we get it all mixed up good. I like to make sure that I put mine on a little cookie sheet just in case it bubbles and boils over. So if you remember, the pie crust is not cooked. Just pour your mixture right in. Our oven is ready to bake at 450. So we're gonna put this in the oven for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we're gonna reduce the heat and we're gonna bake it at 350 for about 40 to 45 minutes. And once you insert a fork or a toothpick and it comes out clean, it is done. But you do wanna keep an eye on the next 45 minutes that the crust doesn't get overdone. You can put foil on the edges so that it doesn't get extra crunchy and extra brown. All right, so that has been 10 minutes. I am going to keep an eye on that crust. It's going to need some foil on it, but for now, we're turning this down to 350 for 40 to 45 minutes. There it is. A nice homemade pumpkin pie. Perfect coloring to the crust. Looks delicious. We have this new Viva Home mixer, and the first thing I'm going to make with it is some cornbread. We're going to make it in our cast iron skillet and put it in the oven. So the first thing I did was set my oven to 400 degrees. We're going to need some flour. We're going to need cornmeal. We're going to need sugar, a little bit of salt, some baking powder, some butter, an egg, and milk. So the first thing we want to do is spray a little bit of cooking Pam in the cast iron skillet. So we're going to use 1 cup of flour, 1 cup cornmeal, 2/3 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Now that we have all our dry ingredients in, we're going to lower this and we're just going to mix our dry ingredients together. So we'll just kind of, oh, look at that. That's nice. It's quiet. Just kind of just mix them all together so the sugar and the cornmeal and the flour all blend a little bit. That's on 4. All right, we're not gonna go any higher than that for this part. Now we're going to add in 1/3 cup of melted butter, 1 large egg, lastly 1 cup of milk, and then we're going to beat this all together. It's still going to be a little lumpy. You don't want to overbeat it. Just beat it until it's all combined nice and not smooth, but not super lumpy. Here we go.
4 years.
Just pour the batter in your pan. Now that it's all in there nice and smooth, we're going to put this in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean and it's nice and golden brown on top. Man, does that look good. We're going to let this cool and we're going to slap some butter on that and call it a biscuit. So it is so close to Thanksgiving and it is time to make that famous stuffing. I already have my sausage all fried up. We're going to use some stale hot dog buns to cut up, some French baguettes. We're going to add some fresh onion, fresh garlic, mushrooms, salt, pepper, chicken broth, parsley, a little bit more garlic, a little bit more onion, and some sage down here. So we're going to get this all cut up. We're going to fry up our onion, garlic, and mushrooms in the sausage, and we'll get to baking. So we're going to chop this up into bread cubes. This is going to be used for our stuffing. It slides right nice through. It makes it really nice. I would say this knife is well worth the purchase. It's very durable. And voila, look at that. It's all chopped up into nice cubes. It looks like a lot, but once you add the broth and the butter and you start mixing it down, it's going to like squish up and it won't be as much. But you got a whole roasting pan full of bread cubes. So we're going to take a little bit of this back out and put in our bowl because that way we can mix this and it'll shrink down in and then we can add more of the bread back in. But I need to give myself some room to mix because I make a mess as it is. I don't need to make it a mess on purpose. But just look at that. That's like nice. So we're going to chop up our mushrooms and put them in here. And we're going to add our sausage into this. We're going to add our onions and we're going to add our garlic. I put our garlic down in here and we're going to try it. I haven't tried this before, so I don't know if this is going to work, but I have high hopes. So let's just put some of it in here. And I'm working backwards, but just going to push it down in. She said don't push real hard, yeah. Just a little bit of pressure, she said, yes. That's just working just good for what we need because we just want it all. Oh, that's working really good. I know, but this has a lot, so we're just going to really get it in here. I'm just really going to get it in here. Good, just garlic in here. Nice. Like I said, it's solidly sticking to the table, which is very nice. All right, so we got it all. I'm going to unlock it here so you can see there's a lot in there that we're going to be able to dump right out. And there's some left up in the top here that we're going to be able to dump out. But that minced and chopped that up really well. So that's a lot of garlic, and that was really quick. All right, so our sausage is all cooked. Our bread is in here. We're going to go ahead and just scoop our sausage right into here so that we can put a stick of butter in this pan, melt it down and just kind of saute the onions, the mushrooms, and the garlic a little bit. So we'll just put that in there and get to sauteing. We're just going to use our sausage pan. It's okay if it has a little bit of sausage in it because we're going to put it in our stuffing. We're just going to melt this butter. We have 1 full container of mushrooms, all nice and chopped up here. And we have about 2.5 cloves of garlic that we're going to use. And then we're going to add in some onion as well. So our butter's all melted. We got our mushrooms down in there with our garlic. We got a half of a thing of onion here, all nice and finely chopped up. We're just going to saute this a little bit. It's going to actually cook in the stuffing. Most people put celery in their stuffing. Scott and I don't like celery.
It's gross.
It's just gross. It is gross. So we're
Sorry
not...
for all you people that like celery. It's gross.
Yeah, it's supposed to be good for you, but we just put extra garlic in replacement of the celery.
Nothing to do with whether it's good for you or not. It tastes gross.
So we're just gonna let this simmer just a little bit, let it cool a little bit, and then we're gonna add it to our bread and our sausage, and then we're gonna add our seasonings, a little bit of chicken broth, and we're gonna mix it all up and just let it sit overnight so the flavors can mix and mingle. All right. Our onions and mushrooms and garlic are all sauteed in the butter, and they've cooled down now. We're gonna go ahead and add them. Check that out. Oh, yum. So we're going to add that right on in here. This gives it a really good flavoring. And the butter keeps it nice and moist. And you can take and, I mean, for years and years and years, people put their stuffing right down inside their turkey. Then all of a sudden they said, oh, don't do that. You can put it inside your turkey, but this stuffing tastes really good and it's very moist that you don't actually need to put it down in your turkey. So we're going to take and sprinkle a good thing of pepper over the top. A couple teaspoons of salt. Even though we have fresh garlic, we're still going to add some garlic powder. Just cover the top of that real good. Same with the onion. We're going to add some granulated onion, even though we have fresh in there. Add a little bit of sage. A little bit of sage goes a long way. Too much sage, I don't know. I think it's overpowering, but you still need sage in here. So I'm just going to put some sage in there. Put a good dose of parsley because you want that pretty green in it. So we'll put that parsley right on in there. And we don't like celery, but I'm gonna add just a little bit of this in there. Just a smidge. And then we have our chicken broth. So we're just going to make this nice and moist. So we're going to sprinkle probably a quarter of the container in here. Like I said, this will shrink down and then we can add our extra bread back here. And my hands are good and clean. I just washed them. But I think that's the best way to get this all mixed nice. And by your hands, you can tell, like if it's moist enough or not. That's one of those words people like, moist. Ugh. It's a word. It's moist. And then you can also tell, like, if you need more seasoning of one kind or another, just by the smell. You can definitely tell that this is going to need some more broth. But your broth, like, goes down to the bottom. So just keep stirring it around and smushing it. You're not going to keep it in that nice cubed form. And look at that. I told you it would shrink down. So everything that was in here and here is now in here, and it's not even a whole way full. And this is a 7-quart bowl. So we're going to put a lid on this and put it in the fridge and let it sit overnight. Tomorrow we're going to get out some muffin pans and we're going to make some stuffing balls right inside our muffin pans. And then the rest we're just going to put in a crock. So we got our turkey ready. It's about a 13-pound turkey. It's only the 2 of us and 2 neighbor ladies. So this is plenty big enough for us. You can thaw it by putting it in cold water and just changing out the cold water like every half an hour for every pound that it is. Or you can get it 2 or 3 days ahead of time and you can thaw it in your refrigerator for 2 to 3 days. So we're going to get this prepped and ready to go in the oven tomorrow. So this turkey comes with a pop-up so you know when it's done. It also comes with some gravy packet. We'll rinse this off and put it in the refrigerator. And it comes with the liver and the hearts and the gizzards, and it's a boy. It's a boy. Babe, it's a boy.
There's lizards in there?
There's lizards in it, and it's a boy. Look at it. It's a boy. Oh, no. It's just tugging on a turkey penis. Oh, this just turned X-rated. So we'll go back to the hearts and liver. We don't eat this, so I'm just going to put it in this bag over here because the garbage goes out tomorrow, and he can just take it. A lot of times, this is just loose in here.
Turkey penis.
But, so we'll be able to pull this neck out. So you just pull that neck right on out. And again, we don't eat this. A lot of people do. A lot of people will just boil this and eat it with some salt. Some people put the liver and the lungs and the heart and all that stuff in their gravy. We don't care for that, so we're not going to. But we're going to rinse this really good inside and out. And then we're going to put it in our pan and put some butter and some seasoning on top. All right, so we're just going to use the same pan that we had the stuffing in. Didn't even rinse it out because it doesn't matter. There was no eggs or anything in it. It's all washed out. You can stuff down in there if you want to, but make sure that you put these little clips on. It holds your legs all nice together. And you can actually stuff back in here too if you want to, but we don't do that. So we're just going to put a coat of salt over the top. And we're going to put some pepper over the top. And you can use whatever seasonings you want or don't want, what you like, what you don't like. The main ingredient is the butter as it's cooking, or just keep basting it. And you want to make sure that you put it breast side up. 2 ways to know. A, if it has a pop-up timer in it, that means you have it in right. And B, the legs are going to be up. And these are the breasts, and the little wing legs are down. So as this cooks, this is the drier meat. The dark meat is on the bottom. That's why the dark meat's always more moist. I'm going to go with the same traditional. Some onion on the top of it. Just a little bit. Make sure you get it so that the skin gets nice and good. And I do a little bit of garlic as well. Just sprinkle it on. Just kind of making like a dry rub over the top as it cooks. That's going to cook down into it. And I like to take a drop or 2 of liquid smoke. You don't want to use too much. It will ruin it and it'll taste fake. But you just want to put, like you can see, just a couple dots here and there. You're very, very sparingly. I just try to get the legs and everything. And then soy sauce. Kiko Man is the best soy sauce. They make an actual brine, and that's one of the really, really, it's It's not open. I'll just have to open it first. Okay, now it's open. So now you're just gonna do a little bit. And this kind of makes like a brine basically, because this gets down in here. It doesn't make it salty, it doesn't taste like soy sauce. It just keeps the flavors in there. And so you can see right there, it makes it nice. When it's cooking, it'll get nice and golden brown. And then we're gonna add the rest of our container of chicken broth to the bottom of this. You don't have to use chicken broth. Even though it's a turkey, we're still using chicken broth. So don't make turkey broth. This will create its own juice, but you want to get some juice to start. So you can use water, but I have this chicken broth, so we're just going to put it in there. Probably about a ½ inch, fill the pan, and then it'll create its own juices as well, but that gives it a kickstart. And then we have some of that leftover garlic from the stuffing. So we're just going to add it right into the bottom and put a couple little bit inside. And we're going to just let this sit overnight in the refrigerator and we'll cook it in the morning. Needs to cook at 325. For a 13-pound turkey, it's 3.5 to 4.5 hours till the popper comes up or until the meat is the right temperature. I'm gonna turn our oven down to 325. We got our turkey out of the refrigerator. It's all rested. Got it juiced all over and seasoned. We're just gonna put it in there and check it about in an hour and baste it some more to keep it nice and moist. We're gonna make 3 sides in this amazing 3-pot crock pot for Thanksgiving. So we don't have to take up our oven space because we're gonna have our turkey and stuffing in there. And we don't have to take up our stove because we're gonna have our gravy and mashed potatoes on there. So in these, this is really awesome. It works really well. We're going to make some baked corn, we're gonna make some green beans, and we're gonna make some sweet potatoes. All right, so we've got our cream corn on the bottom and we drained the juice of the whole corn. Some people use like a Jiffy mix in here. I don't care for that, so I just make things the way I like them. So I hope you like them too. I'm gonna go ahead and put in my 2 eggs and a little bit of milk. 2 eggs are in there, and we're just gonna add some milk, kind of to cover it. You want it to be a little juicy because the eggs are going to thicken it up. So is the cornstarch. So just enough to basically cover the corn. We're going to sprinkle about a tablespoon of this cornstarch on there because it says thickens sauces, soups, and gravies. So we're going to put about a tablespoon of this in there. That's a little bit too much. We need to take some out. Saved it. Got about a tablespoon in there now, and probably about a tablespoon over here. And then we're going to add about 1/8 of a cup of sugar. So there we go. And then we're just going to mix this around so that we can beat the eggs up a little bit. Get everything in there thickening. And then we're going to just put this on, because we're not going to eat for several hours, probably about 5 hours or so. I'm just going to put this on low and let this cook nice and slow, like a slow cooker's supposed to be. So we'll check back in on this. Hey y'all, don't be a Terry. You gotta have butter in your corn. So I'm gonna add my 2 tablespoons of butter in there as well. For our green beans in our middle pot, we're gonna take 2 cans of green beans. We're gonna add some butter. We're gonna take some bacon grease and put in there, a little bit of garlic, salt and pepper, and then I like to use this Goya, basically it's ham base. Got our green beans in here, 1 can drained, 1 can undrained. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Butter's added. I got a tablespoon of the bacon grease. I'm putting half the packet of the Goya ham base. And I'm putting about a tablespoon of fresh minced garlic. This is left over from the stuffing that we were making last night, so we're just gonna add that garlic right on in there too. Got the garlic, got the salt and pepper in there. We're just gonna give this a little bit of a stir. It's gonna need to melt down before we can actually stir it. Again, we're not gonna eat for a couple hours, so we're just gonna put this on the low setting, just like the corn, and we're gonna move on to the sweet potatoes. We're gonna do the cheat for the candied yams because I didn't buy the real yams. I was kind of in a time crunch, so I just got the sweet potato ones in a can. You're gonna drain half the juice out and put that in, and we're gonna put half a stick of butter in. We're gonna sprinkle in about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Drizzle it with some maple syrup. And then we're gonna add a little bit of honey, because this will give it the sweetness without that extra sweet taste. Now we're just gonna let this cook in the crock pot on low. And then once it's about 5 minutes from time to eat, we'll top it with the little mini marshmallows. If you peek in here, the turkey is done and we got the stuffing in the bowl. And we're also gonna make some little stuffing balls. So what you wanna do is take your cupcake pan, spray it with Pam, and then you're gonna mold the stuffing into little balls and stick down in there. And we got our stuffing balls and our stuffing. Drain 1/3 of the broth from the turkey into the small pan to make your gravy. The rest we'll use for the noodles and the mashed potatoes. The secret to lump-free gravy is making this thickener. You want to take tap water, put in a bowl, add some flour, stir it up, and then let it sit, and then just keep stirring it every once in a while. The lumps will disappear, and this will make an excellent lump-free gravy. No problem. It works every time. I usually add a little salt and pepper into this mixture as well. It doesn't hurt anything. We have our chicken broth ready, and our flour mixture is ready to go right here. We're going to bring that broth to a boil, and then we're going to slowly add this in, stirring constantly. You can add some parsley, salt, and pepper, but look at this. It's the excellent consistency, lump-free, and it is perfect every single time. It's a no-fail, lump-free gravy. You will not be disappointed. If it's too thick, add some more water. We're going to drain 1/3 of the broth from the turkey into this large pan for our mashed potatoes that we're going to make. I already went ahead and peeled my potatoes. Now we need to dice these up into very large chunks before we put them down in the turkey broth that we set aside. We got these in nice big chunks, put them in the turkey broth. This is going to be really amazing. This adds an extra level of flavor to your mashed potatoes. So we just want to turn this up and boil them for about 8 to 10 minutes until they're tender, not mushy. We have them done. We have them drained. We're going to add them to a bowl, add a half a stick of butter, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. We like to add a little bit of garlic as well. You're going to put a little bit of ranch dressing in it and some milk and mix them all together. Once you mix them up, they're oh so delicious, and we're just going to throw them in a bowl. Our turkey's done, but we just want to brown it, so we're going to turn it up and get that that top real nice and crispy. Take 1/3 of your broth from your turkey and dump in a big pan. You're going to use this to cook your noodles with. We're going to boil, if you can tell, this is not like even a half a pot of chicken broth. And that's because I cook my noodles in this and I let it in this. So instead of using a pot of water to boil it, you're going to use just enough to put your noodles in and boil it, and then you have your noodles in a nice broth. Bring this broth to a full boil, and then you're going to dump your bag of noodles in there and then let them boil for about 6 minutes. You kind of want them a little underdone because they will soak into the broth and you don't want them to be mushy. Now look at that turkey. It's all nice and browned. We got our stuffing balls in the bottom and our stuffing there. And let's not forget our corn that we made. Our baked corn, our green beans, and our sweet potatoes, which are now ready to put the marshmallows on top. So we're just going to put those right on top. So this is coming. These are nice fixings and nice sides. Man, thank you, Mama, for teaching me how to cook.